Love is a profound force that brings warmth and connection to our lives. But, just like the seasons change, love can fade, leaving us wondering what went wrong. In this video, we'll explore the two powerful signs that someone is losing their love for you, and how Zen and Buddhist teachings can help us navigate this painful experience. Through these teachings, we'll learn how to embrace change, let go with grace, and transform pain into a path toward personal growth. Stay with me till the end, as I'll also share a powerful Buddhist story that might just change how you see love and loss forever. Part 1. Emotional Withdrawal, a gradual drifting away in a small village. Two friends had shared many years of companionship. They had gone through joys and sorrows together, sharing pleasant moments and facing difficult times side by side. Their relationship was strong and stable, like a stream flowing through a forest, always vibrant and full of life. But one day, something began to change. One of them started to notice something was off. The other, once caring and enthusiastic, now became distant. Conversations that once flowed easily became awkward, and laughter, which used to be abundant, was now rare. It wasn't a sudden change, but a gradual retreat, like a boat slowly drifting away from the shore. This is not an isolated or dramatic shift, but rather the first sign of love fading, emotional withdrawal. When love starts to fade, the first thing we notice is this gradual emotional withdrawal. It might not be an abrupt change, but a slow, often unnoticed process. We find ourselves trying, but it seems like our words and actions no longer have the same impact as they did before. The connection that once existed between the two people starts to weaken. The emotional closeness fades, and the exchanges that used to be filled with meaning now feel strained and distant. Those loving gestures, once so frequent, begin to disappear, and we start questioning why. Why does it feel like the person we once shared everything with is pulling away? In these moments, we might feel confused and hurt, unsure of why things are changing. The feeling of being abandoned, of love no longer being present, can make us feel incredibly alone and helpless. However, what is essential during such times is not to rush to conclusions or react hastily. Judging or blaming only deepens the pain. It is during these moments that the teachings of Zen and Buddhism can offer us a different perspective, one that is gentler and wiser. Zen teaches us that change and emotional withdrawal are natural parts of life. Nothing stays the same forever, and love, like everything in life, has its own cycle. There will be times when it grows, and times when it fades. Instead of trying to hold on or feeling insecure about the change, we can learn to observe and understand it without judgment. What is important is recognizing that attachment leads to suffering. When we cling too tightly to a relationship or expectation that love will always be as it was, we set ourselves up for disappointment when it inevitably changes or fades. Buddhism teaches us that letting go is the path to peace. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means accepting the natural flow of things without resistance. If we can accept that love is not permanent and not something we can control, we will find freedom in loving without attachment. The emotional withdrawal, rather than being something to fear or avoid, can become an opportunity to reflect on ourselves and grow. Imagine, in these moments, that we are like a person standing by the river, watching the water flow. The water does not struggle against its natural flow. It simply moves forward. Similarly, love needs to be let go of, allowing it to develop naturally. Letting go is not about stopping love or caring less. It's about releasing the need to control and letting love move through us without restriction. We don't need to hold on to what's no longer there. Instead, we can simply allow it to flow, to change, and to evolve. Emotional withdrawal is a natural process, and it may signify that both people need space to reflect and regain their own inner peace. The relationship may no longer feel as it once did, but this doesn't mean the connection is entirely gone. Sometimes, giving each other space to reevaluate ourselves and the relationship is necessary. Only when we understand and accept the impermanence of love can we allow it to develop in a more genuine and lasting way. When we experience emotional withdrawal from a partner, it's important to take a step back and ask ourselves, am I holding on too tightly to something that no longer serves me? Can I find peace within myself? rather than relying on this relationship to feel secure? The truth is, when one person begins to withdraw emotionally, it can be an opportunity for both people to reconnect with their own balance. The relationship may not be as it was, but that doesn't mean it has ended. It may simply be a time for growth and reflection. Letting go of the attachment to how things should be can allow the relationship to evolve in a healthier way. Emotional withdrawal is not the end. It is simply a transition. Let it be an opportunity for self-reflection. Like the river that keeps flowing, love continues to move forward, adapting and changing. Every change brings new lessons and new opportunities for growth. The key is whether we can accept that change with peace and wisdom. By observing emotional withdrawal with awareness, we can come to understand that this is not necessarily a rejection, but a natural phase of any relationship. It is not a sign of failure, but a signal that we need to adapt, let go, and trust in the flow of life. Through this understanding, we can find peace and allow both ourselves and others to grow without the burden of clinging to the past. Part 2. Avoidance. Creating space and distance as emotional withdrawal unfolds. The next phase often follows, avoidance. Day by day, the once frequent meetings and shared moments begin to dwindle. Invitations to go for walks, talk, or simply be together are increasingly met with excuses. It feels like the person you once shared so much with is now pulling away. There is a noticeable shift, a growing distance, where once there was connection. The silence that replaces the once comfortable presence is both painful and perplexing. This growing avoidance is not necessarily a rejection, but rather a subtle sign of emotional disengagement. The person who begins to avoid shared spaces and activities is not doing so because they no longer care, but because they no longer feel the same sense of connection. The relationship has begun to change, and with that change comes a natural instinct to protect oneself from further emotional discomfort. Why does avoidance happen? In Buddhism, it is believed that everything, including relationships, is impermanent. Love itself is an ever-changing force. When feelings begin to shift, when love starts to fade, the natural response may be to distance oneself from the source of that discomfort. The avoidance comes not from malice, but as a form of self-protection. It's as though the person is trying to shield themselves from the internal conflict they may be feeling about the fading connection. They may still care deeply but are unsure of how to navigate the situation without causing more pain, for themselves or for the other person. The Buddha teaches us that attachment leads to suffering, and this includes attachment to the idea of how a relationship should be. We often expect our relationships to stay constant, to fulfill our needs in ways that never change. But when that expectation is not met, emotional withdrawal and avoidance often serve as natural responses. They give both parties a way to process what is happening, to step back and reflect on their own feelings and needs. Avoidance is not rejection. For the person being avoided, this shift can be deeply unsettling. The natural instinct is often to demand answers, to seek clarity from the other person. Why are you avoiding me? Have I done something wrong? We might search for explanations, perhaps hoping to salvage the relationship or to avoid the pain of uncertainty. But Zen wisdom teaches us that instead of seeking answers from the other person, we must first look within ourselves. The avoidance is not about you. It is about the person experiencing it and their own emotional journey. Understanding this allows us to respond with compassion rather than frustration. It's important to recognize that avoidance is not an act of malice, nor does it necessarily signal the end of the relationship. It's simply a person's way of creating space to deal with their emotions. They may feel conflicted, sad, or even guilty about the fading connection, but they still need time to process it on their own. The person who is avoiding may be facing internal struggles that are difficult to articulate or even understand themselves. Their avoidance is a mechanism to protect their own heart and to avoid further complicating the situation, responding with compassion and understanding. In these moments, the practice of compassion becomes critical. Buddhism teaches us that all beings are interconnected, and we must treat each other with kindness, especially in moments of difficulty. When faced with someone's avoidance, instead of reacting with anger, rejection, or sadness, we can choose to respond with understanding. This means recognizing that their emotional distance is a reflection of their inner turmoil, not a reflection of your worth or actions. It's a chance for us to cultivate patience and to practice letting go. Zen philosophy encourages us to respond to change with equanimity, by observing the situation without judgment, without rushing to conclusions. We can maintain our peace of mind. We must allow space for the other person to feel what they need to feel, and trust that the distance is not an act of hostility, but a part of the natural ebb and flow of relationships. This does not mean that we should ignore our own feelings or ignore the pain that the distance brings. It's important to acknowledge that feeling hurt is natural when someone you care about pulls away. But Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not something to fear or resist. Suffering is an opportunity to practice mindfulness and to grow in wisdom. Rather than lashing out, we can choose to face the discomfort with a clear mind, understanding that our emotions, like everything else, are impermanent. Personal awareness and the importance of inner peace. Through my own personal experiences, I've learned that when someone begins to avoid you, the key is not to take it personally. Instead of reacting with anger, resentment, or frustration, approach the situation with understanding. People go through their own emotional storms that we may never fully understand. We might never know the exact reasons behind their avoidance, but we can choose to respond in a way that brings us peace. For example, I once had a close friend who began to withdraw emotionally and avoid spending time with me. At first, I was hurt and confused, questioning what I had done wrong. But over time, I realized that their behavior wasn't about me. It was about something they were struggling with internally. By giving them the space they needed, I also took the opportunity to reflect on my own emotions. I meditated on my feelings, practiced mindfulness, and allowed myself to experience the pain without clinging to it. This practice of observation without judgment helped me see that this phase of avoidance was simply a temporary moment in our relationship. Instead of reacting impulsively, I gave them space and continued focusing on my own growth. What I discovered in that process was that avoiding the emotional drama and staying grounded in my own peace was not only beneficial for me, but also created a better environment for the relationship to heal and evolve. I found that sometimes, all we need to do is give someone the room to process their emotions. And in doing so, we make room for growth within ourselves. The importance of letting go. Buddhism teaches us the importance of letting go, of releasing attachments that no longer serve us. It is only through letting go of our need for constant reassurance and our fear of abandonment that we can begin to experience true peace. The more we hold on to expectations, the more we set ourselves up for suffering. In relationships, this means releasing the attachment to the way we think things should be and accepting them as they are. When someone avoids us, it's important to remind ourselves that we cannot control another person's actions. We can only control how we respond. By letting go of the need for validation and focusing on cultivating our own inner peace, we allow the relationship to evolve naturally. We stop forcing it to be something it's not, and we start embracing it for what it is. In this moment, in the end, avoidance is not a permanent state. Like all things in life, it will change, but by responding with compassion, by choosing to focus on our own peace, and by letting go of expectations, we transform this period of distance into an opportunity for personal growth. By observing without judgment, we learn to release the attachment to outcomes and embrace the flow of life, just as the Buddha taught us. Part 3. The nature of impermanence, embracing change in life. Nothing is permanent, and this is especially true in relationships. Both Buddhist teachings and Zen philosophy emphasize impermanence as a fundamental law of the universe. Everything changes, from the seasons to people, from deep connections to love itself. If we can recognize this truth, we can live more peacefully and lessen the pain that comes with loss. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent. Everything, from the seasons to human relationships, is in a constant state of change. When the seasons change, leaves fall, the sun rises and sets. These are all natural cycles in the universe. Similarly, relationships, no matter how deep or meaningful, cannot escape this law of change. When change starts to occur, it often brings with it feelings of sadness and discomfort. as if something precious is slipping away. But instead of resisting this change, Zen encourages us to accept it and respond peacefully to it. Love, no matter how deep, cannot remain the same forever. A relationship may evolve over time, and when that change occurs, it often comes with pain. In such moments, we may feel lost, abandoned, and uncertain about why things are changing. In these times, we often ask ourselves, why is this happening? But Zen wisdom teaches us that the more important question is, how can I respond with peace? Cherish the relationship while it is here. However, it is important to note that while we accept change, we should also cherish what remains. Don't let the fear of change prevent you from appreciating the value of your current relationship. Love, care, and time spent with those around us should be treasured while they are still here. Because when they are no longer with us, the memories we have built together will become precious reminders, helping us face the changes with more peace. Buddhism doesn't just teach us about impermanence. It also encourages us to understand that letting go is the path to freedom. When we no longer cling to what is past, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes with trying to hold on to things that cannot be kept. Relationships, like everything else in life, change, and we cannot hold on to them forever. But if we know how to appreciate and let go, we will find peace in the midst of change. Part 4. Practical steps for acceptance and growth. How do we move past the painful experience of love fading and turn it into an opportunity for growth? Here are some practical steps to help us heal and move forward. 1. Recognizing the signs. The first and most important step in facing the change in a relationship is recognizing the signs. Emotional withdrawal and avoidance are not unexpected, but often we choose not to acknowledge them. Denial only prolongs the pain, because when we fail to acknowledge the truth, we continue to live in an illusion that the love still exists. It's like trying to hold water in your hands when it's already slipping through. To move forward, the first thing we need is the courage to face reality. This might be difficult, but Zen teaches us the importance of observing without judgment. When we begin to notice the changes in a relationship, we don't need to rush to explain or find the cause. We simply need to understand that this is happening, and it is part of life. This recognition helps us step out of emotional chaos and approach the situation with a clearer mind. 2. Seeking inner peace. When faced with pain, an emotional reaction is natural. However, according to Buddhism and Zen, letting emotions dictate our actions only increases suffering. Instead of reacting impulsively to pain, we can seek inner peace through meditation and mindfulness. Meditation helps calm the mind, allowing us to view the situation more clearly. When we practice meditation, we learn how to observe our emotions without being swept away by them. This doesn't mean denying the pain, but rather learning not to let it control us. Mindfulness, or living in the present moment, helps us not get trapped in the past or worry about the future. Each time we face loss, we can focus on our breath, feel our bodies, and notice what's happening around us. This creates a space of inner calm where we can think more clearly about the next steps. 3. Honest communication. One of the key steps in moving forward is engaging in honest communication. If possible, having an open conversation can be the key to resolving or even reviving the relationship. However, this is not always easy because feelings of hurt and shame may make us hesitant to open up. Yet, in Buddhism, we learn how to face our fears and insecurities rather than avoid them. Sometimes, just listening to the other person without judgment is enough. We don't need to find all the answers or try to change the other person. We simply need to accept that both of you may be walking different paths. Understanding the other person's perspective can give us a more objective view, and sometimes even bring closure to the relationship. Or perhaps, if both are willing, it can offer an opportunity to renew the bond. 4. Letting go with peace of mind. Sometimes, the truth is that we cannot hold on to a relationship that has faded. Letting go is not an act of failure, but an act of respect. Respecting both our journey and the other person's. When someone has emotionally withdrawn, holding on only deepens the pain for both sides. Zen teaches us that letting go is not about giving up. It's about allowing love to be free, just like a river flowing without obstruction. Letting go is also learning to free ourselves from excessive attachment to another person or relationship. This is an important step in regaining inner peace. We can take time to reflect on and appreciate the beautiful moments shared in the relationship, while accepting that what is no longer present cannot return. 5. Focusing on self-development. Loss can be an opportunity for self-discovery. Buddhism encourages us to view pain with compassion and use it as a tool for personal growth. When we no longer rely on others to define our worth, we learn to value ourselves. These moments of sadness can be an opportunity to explore new passions, develop ourselves, and build a more independent life. Remember that your worth is not dependent on the love of others. When we realize this, we can live more freely, no longer dependent on the love or approval of anyone. And as we move past the pain, we become stronger, more resilient, and richer in emotional depth. Personal reflection. Throughout this journey, one powerful practice I've always applied is self-compassion. In moments of loss, I remind myself that feeling hurt is completely normal. It doesn't diminish my worth. This pain is just part of the human experience. And when I face it with compassion, I can transform it into strength. And gradually, I become stronger. Remember that, in Buddhism, suffering is a part of life. But the important thing is how we face it. Acceptance, understanding, and compassion are the keys to transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and transformation. Embracing the present moment. Ultimately, the teachings of Zen and Buddhism offer a powerful lens through which to view love and loss. Love is not about holding on to something that is fading, but about embracing it with gratitude while it lasts and letting it go when it's time. Through mindfulness, meditation, and self-compassion, we can navigate the impermanence of relationships with peace and wisdom. As the Buddha said, in the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. This profound teaching reminds us that love, like everything in life, is a journey, not a destination. Final reflection. The first companion in our story eventually found peace not by clinging to the past, but by embracing the present moment. This, too, is the invitation for all of us to be fully present in love and in life, to let go of expectations, and to trust in the flow of life. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more wisdom on how to navigate the complexities of love, life, and relationships through the lens of Zen and Buddhist teachings.